Hello there! I'm Scotty. Okay, I'm itchy too. You're not. Okay, yesterday we talked about Bill Nye's Excellent Adventure, so it only makes sense that today we talk about the 1990 movie Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. Now, of course, we're talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, although I do need to give Ghost another rewatch. Is there a way I can redo that one instead of another one? I don't know. But yeah, so Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey came out in 1992. Two? I think it was 92. Does it say in the back of this? This says 91. The CD says 91. And the back of the thing's 91. Also, they have a movie in 88. I thought the movie came out in 89. The first one. I don't know, but this takes place in 1993 according to the dialogue in the movie. But the plot is that a villain from the future named Anomalos has sent two evil Bill and Teds back in time to kill the real Bill and Ted, take over their lives, and cause chaos so that the Anomalos reigns supreme in the future. But if you have knowledge of the way the time travel worked in the first one, it's written by the same people, Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson, who, by the way, had a cameo in the first film as the Ziggy Piggy people, the ice cream parlor. So, by the way, let's talk about that. I didn't talk about that. I just skipped over it. But there's a scene in the first one where they present this big-ass bowl of ice cream called the Ziggy Piggy. The Ziggy Pig. The biggest ice cream spectacle known to man, right? And so this is when Deacon and his two friends who are girls are with that Napoleon, right? And so it's Ed Madison and Chris Solomon that come in as these two guys deliver the bowl, and at the end we cross dissolve to them finishing the ice cream, but they give the award to Napoleon for finishing the ice cream. He didn't do it by himself. He had help, right? I don't know. That always confused me. It's something I thought about watching last night. Yeah. And then Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson have cameos in this as two of the new age dudes that hang out with Missy. So we start in the future. Way into the future, we're a futuristic society. And remember the rules of time travel. Everything that happens in this film was always meant to happen the way it happened. And so we start with a statue of Bill and Ted erected in their honor, and they're wearing the same clothes they wear in this movie. I know it's a set design thing, so they went by it. But to me, that tells me, oh, the clothes they wear during this movie must be very important that they're wearing them on this statue. Okay? So it's a futuristic school with learning all things, and a phone booth comes into the middle of this futuristic classroom of sorts. Rufus steps out wearing the most futuristic clothing in the world and introduces Johann Sebastian Bach, Rhea Pichel, who's not a real person as far as I know, and Sir James Martin of Faith No More, which was real lead singer of Faith No More, Jim Martin, who says, "Station!" Remember that. Remember that because, again, put the pin there because, yeah. And, Rufus gives out the warning of do not do your homework without wearing headphones. Repeat. Now, speaking from example, trying to do your homework while wearing headphones, listening to music, not the best idea. Of course, I tried it. It's hard to concentrate when you got music playing in your ears, trying to figure out math problems. So no, that's not the best. But this is where Denominalos and his people break in and it's recognized that he is Rufus's former teacher, and then Denamlos recognizes Rufus as his favorite pupil. We do find out that he's actually a gym teacher and sit-off champion of the 27th century, so we'll find out that later. But Denamlos introduces his secret weapons that he's going to go back and change history to evil robot Bill and Ted's, who proceed to take off their head, and what still looks like pretty good animatronic work. Now, it's Kevin Yeager who did Chucky, which we'll talk about a little bit later this month, and several other things, including the suits for the station and the Good Robot Bill and Ted's later. I try to say Good Robot Us's, but Bill and Us's that came out. Anyway, Denamlos' plan is to send an evil robot Bill and Ted back in time to kill the real Bill and Ted, take over their lives, and ruin them so that things go his way, apparently. So, to try to stop them, Rufus uses his guitar to attach to the booth and sends him in time with them. However, when they arrive in 1993, yes, it's 1993, we'll get to that, okay? In 1993, then Rufus is not with them. Alright? So, we then cross-dissolve to our current great ones, Bill and Ted, who are still wild stallions. The girls, princesses, the babes, have learned how to play the keyboard and drums. The guys still know how to play guitar, which 5 years time passing. Now, this is where we find out the 5-year time jump, because when they're doing the introductions, I am Bill's President Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan, and celebrating their 5th year in the 20th century, medieval princesses from medieval England, which they say in the middle of the thing, Joanna and Elizabeth. So 5th year in the 20th century, which means that it's been 5 years. So that makes it 1993, because the first film takes place in 1988. This one, 1993. It's 5 years later. Which means they were 17 in the first film, right? So that means they are 22 here. Right? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. About 22. So they're living in their own shitbag apartment. I should talk. Actually, that is a nice apartment. I'd like to live in that apartment. They live in an apartment together. Not with their girlfriends, but they're having a birthday party, which they have like over 100 and some years or something. I don't know. But we get to our one of 2 running jokes throughout the entire series. They keep going, Missy is now married to Ted's dad instead of Bill's dad, who is there looking so pathetic. Which leads into our other running joke. Bill still calls her mom. Yes, hey Missy, Mom. She's not married to your dad anymore, dude. You don't have to call her that. But he does. And then they go over some scientific stuff. I can't believe Missy divorced your dad. Married mine. Shut up, Ted. What's next? And then Joanna says, maybe she'll marry you. Bill says, yeah, but then you'll be your own stepdad. No, that's not how that works. Not really, although, when we get to the third one, we'll talk about it. But that's not really how it works, because she's not his actual mom. But they have a party, and then afterwards they go outside and they propose to the girls after some weird poem about fish. At least from Ted's side. I can never figure out what Bill is saying, because Ted overpowers everything. Talking about fish. Fish. There's a lot of fish. Matthew Broderick is here? What? We haven't come out yet. But anyway, they propose, they say yes, and then they say goodbye, because even though they're going to get married, they're not living together. And another running joke, Bill and Ted are complete idiots. And that the world's going to be ruled by these 2 idiots, apparently. Or a society based on these 2 idiots. Because, as they drive off, I don't know, I think Bill says, I wonder if after we're married, the girls will stay over with us. You're married. They would live with you, right? I don't know. Yeah, and like as soon as they walk back into the apartment, their phone rings. It's evil Bill and Ted. It's evil Bill actually doing the voice of Joanna, who says that they decide to leave Wild Stallions and they're going out to the desert to be alone. So the guys are getting drunk while watching an episode of Star Trek that happens to be filmed at the Vasquez Rocks. Yes, I have the complete series of the original series, and I have yet to find that episode, although I've only watched the first disc. Never gotten past that. Not that I don't like it. I like it. It's just, it's an older series, so it's hard for me to keep going. But, so, they get a knock on our door, and it is the evil robot Bill and Ted, though they don't know that. They think it's them from the future. And I can point out that they're wearing the same clothes, but they were technically wearing the same clothes as before. Like, Ted has every right to be concerned about them being here, because, like, what I was trying to say was, like, in the first film, they also had the same clothes, although they differentiated. But here, they're wearing the exact same clothes, period. But Ted has every right to be concerned about this, especially because the dialogue would suggest something else. Because the first thing the evil robot Bill says, "How's it going, Bill?" He says, "How's it going, Bill?" "Not bad, Bill." "You?" "Bad." "Wouldn't you already know that it's bad?" And then they walk in and go, "We're here to help you in your most unfortunate time." And I'm like, then they start drinking their beer and eating their chips, but the robots don't know they eat the chips, but okay. And they say they're going to take them to Joanna Elizabeth, so they take them out to the middle of nowhere, the Vasquez Rocks, would you believe it, and to kill them. Now, I didn't mention this in the first one because I really didn't want to, but they do use a slur, F-A-G word, which I don't like saying. They use it in the first one after it's revealed that Ted is still alive after falling down the stairs with his suit. They hug and they say it. And here, to try to convince them, they say, we love you, we love you, and then they say it again. But yeah, they reveal that they're robots, which I don't know why they do that. But by the way, let's talk about the soundtrack quick, because the soundtrack to this is also pretty good. It's got the 90s rock more than the 80s rock, but it's still pretty good. A VHS for this, like I said, my grandma, she would record these and put them on other VHS. There was a music video before this one. Now, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure started out a tape, but this was towards the end. Only thing that was after this was an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that was recorded from a VHS as well. But before this, there's a music video for the band Slaughter's song Shout It Out, which does play later on in this film. And it is a pretty cool, very 90s-like, very, very 90s music video. But it's still a pretty good music video. So, there are two needle drops here. When they first take off, there's one song. And then, when they're arriving in Vasquez Rocks, there's another song. This is where it's revealed that they're evil about us, and they throw them over the cliff, killing them. This is where we're introduced to the Grim Reaper, or Death, played fantastically by William Sadler, who gets a small line here. Now, before we continue, I just want to point out, put a pin here, that Bill and Ted's death does nothing to the timeline. Bill and Ted, the most important people to the future society, the chosen ones. Rufus, we find out that Rufus was there all along, but he does nothing to interfere with this. And even the Grim Reaper, which, by the way, the Grim Reaper and God and the devil, they surpass time and space. The afterlife has no timeline. There's no time in the afterlife, which means they would know about Bill and Ted. They would know about all this, which means everything is supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. Their death does not affect the timeline at all. which, you know, you can say, oh, well, there's still the evil robot us taking over our lives, so they're not technically dead. Yeah, but there'd be ripples. There'd be ripples, especially felt in the future where the anomalous is, and we never get anything that changes in the future. Because it was always supposed to be this way, I'm just saying. But yeah, so the death says you must challenge me to a contest, and if you win, and if you lose, you will stay here in the afterlife, wherever. That's a nod to the Seventh Seal, Ingmar Bergman film, where the guy plays chess with death, right? Instead, they give him a wedgie or a Melvin by saying your shoelaces are untied. Now, again, this is stupid. Like, why wouldn't you know that he didn't have shoes? I also put out there, he did know. He was supposed to let them go. It wasn't time for them to challenge him yet. He was supposed to let them go. I'm just saying. By the way, after evil robot Bill and Ted kill the good Bill and Ted. Stop trying to say robot in there. Kill the good Bill and Ted. They decide not to take the van because, you know, when Bill and Ted come back to life, they're going to need a way to get back. So they decide to take a Porsche that is speeding away from them miles ahead. And somehow, when Bill and Ted walk all the way back to their apartment, the Porsche is there, all covered in dirt. And we see the Porsche later too, but I'm just like, do they have super speed? But how did they get to that Porsche? I don't know. We see them mistreating the girls, and they break up with them. The girls break up with them, and then they decide they're going to kill the girls at the Battle of the Bands, which is the big contest that's going on. We were talking to Miss Wardrobe earlier about it, and you know they're going to be last 2 a.m. or 12 a.m. or something like that, midnight I think it is. But then everyone who got home, excuse me. But that's also where you get the line where they're like, you got the girls, they have talent, but you guys, we don't understand it ourselves. Well, plus they have extra practice, huh? Well, they're from Middle England. What? Middle England, Iowa. I don't know. That was funny, but anyway. So they're ghosts now, and the girls walk through them making all weird blue whoa. So they decide to do the exorcist thing, and they go to the police station and try to tell the cops. So they decide to possess Ted's dad, and Bill replies with, worked in The Exorcist 1 and 3. 1, yes. 3, are you talking about the Gemini killer? Was it really possessed? I guess it was Father Karras' body. I guess. And you know that line I always wondered, what about The Exorcist 2? Now having grown up and seen The Exorcist 2, I get why they weren't talking about that one. Anyway, so Ted possesses his own dad, and credit to the actor, he does a pretty good Keanu Reeves impression, but no one believes him, so Bill possesses the sergeant, who's not Bill's dad like I originally thought back in the day, but no, it's not him. But, yeah, and the cops still don't believe them, so they take off. And, well, we can't go out like this, so they and come out of that head. And, yeah. Ted's dad and the sergeant is confused. This is the second of 3 scenes with Ted's dad in this entire film. Even though he wasn't in that much of the first film, his presence was still felt with that threat of military school. Right? There was even Colonel Oates, which was mentioned in the first one, but introduced here during the birthday party. I forgot to mention him too. And he also flirts with Missy, which implies that had been something between them or will be. And I would have liked it if we see a long list of Missy's marriages, like after Ted's dad, it's like Colonel Oates, and then the sergeant, and then the Grim Reaper, and then Denomalos, and I don't know. I don't know. But, so, they decide to go to Missy's house, or Ted's dad's house, where Missy's there. It's a diff. Is it? I don't know if it's the same house, although they could have moved, I guess, but it might be. I don't know. It's supposed to be. But she's having a seance for the New Age dudes, they're called, and they come in as ghosts and try to convince them that Bill and Ted were murdered and that the girls are in trouble. But they don't believe them, and she ends up sending them to hell. So, now we're going to talk about, throughout this review, I'm going to talk about several deleted scenes, and the first of which come here. There's a deleted scene where Bill and Ted are in hell, where they're breaking rocks, and there's some skeleton dude with a fish skeleton. That's all I know. But we introduce the devil, voiced by Frank Welker, in this, and you can tell from Welker because it's basically Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. But they're like, "Can we go now?" Like, which, you know, if the scene was deleted, and it's like, it does sound impatient. Like, "Can we go now?" Even though they just got there, you know. "You may go," and he drops them into these tunnels where they go into one door, and it's where they're stuck in military school with Colonel Oates, who makes them do infinity push-ups. And we get something that is never really funny to me, where he's got to say "yes, sir," but he's also got to put dudes like, "Yes, dude, sir. Yes, sir, dude. Yes, sir, dude." Just like, what? I never got that. They have them do infinity push-ups. They can't do it. They run off. And they decide to separate, which is a bad idea. And so Ted ends up in a memory from when he was a kid, 10 years earlier, so 1982. Which, mind you, they're 22 here. 10 years, they'd be 12. So he was 12. Okay. And he stole his brother's Easter basket. Deacon is mentioned here, but not seen. He's in the third one, but he's only mentioned here. But, anyway, yeah, so the Easter Bunny comes after him, and he runs away. And then in Bill's childhood memory, it's his evil grandma, Granny S. Preston Esquire. Why does she have the S. Preston Esquire? Granny Preston. I don't know. But, quick fact, Alex Winter, who plays Bill, was in the granny costume. Yeah, that was him. Yep. So they eventually get out of there, but then all three of them follow them through the tunnels of hell. Well, we get the choose your eternity, and he says, "No, choose your own." FAG word. Ted gets thrown back, and we get one of my favorite lines. There's non heinous, which is bad. They say in the special features of the DVD that that's bad. So he gets flung. The book gets flung back, and then all three of them come after them, and they decide they have to face the Reaper. So you can say this was the devil trying to force them to face the Reaper because they're supposed to. I don't know. Again, I think the devil, the Reaper, and God, they all knew the way it was supposed to go. So, I'm just saying. And now I have my point proved to you that. So, they play the Reaper in Battleship J7. I hate you have sunk my battleship. Can we go now? Best two out. You must play me again. What? Best 2 out of 3. No way. Yes way. So then they play Clue. I believe it was Colonel Mustard in the study with the candlestick. And then they do it wrong. When you play Clue, because we had Clue growing up, the opponents do not look at what's in the box, because they have to guess. So if you are playing there, it's 2-on-1 basically. Bill and Ted are on the same team against Death. So when you are playing against an opponent, say it's a one-on-one game, right? Your opponent guesses it's Colonel Mustard in a study with a candlestick. They, and only they, can look at it to see if they're right. If they're not, you have to put it back, not say what it is, and put it underneath. Just say, no, I'm wrong. You put it underneath. Then you have to guess to see if you're right. And then you get to look. And if you're right, you win the game. If you're wrong, you both lose and you got to restart. But when he does this, they look at it. Which, to be honest, if he looked at it, he'd probably lie. But it's a game of truth. So you have, no, it was Professor Plum. I said Plum. No, you said Mustard. Best 3 out of 5. And it's like a miniature football thing, and he just looks at it, flicks it. Best of 7? Damn right. And then we play Twister. And Death loses again, so finally they have to go, can take them back. And, but they gotta go to heaven to find a scientist to help them make good robot us's. So they do. And they go to heaven, which is a still pretty cool looking set. And the first thing they do is they mug 3 wise people and take their clothes. Again, though, I feel like this was supposed to happen because there's this woman there taking tickets, and then they walk off and like, hey, can you come here? We got a question for you. They mug them. There's no way that lady didn't see that. And then they come up. It's clearly them dressed as the wise people, but they'll go into. And what's more is that there's this guy at the gate who asks what the meaning of life is. And they just say every rose has its thorn, basically. They do the chorus to Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison. Again, though, heaven is all-knowing. So they would know. And they know that because once they're let through, I like how this guy's like, looks at the Grim Reaper and goes, do I know you? No. They get in there, and right away, the facade is gone. He's like, God, as you may know, we're not the 3 wise men you were looking for. Actually, Bill S. Preston Esquire, Ted Theodore Logan. We mugged the 3 wise men. Wild stallions. This lovely lady here is the Grim Reaper. And then, so they explain the situation that they need a scientist. And so he says, station, and gives them a little map thing to take them to. And as they walk off, Death goes, I'm sorry, they medvant me. And so now they're in heaven, and we get a most excellent game of charades with Ben Franklin, Confucius, and Albert Einstein, who guesses it correct. Smokey und der Bandit 3. Smokey is the Bandit, which was originally the name of Smokey and the Bandit 3, but they just had it be Smokey and the Bandit 3. Burt Reynolds did not come back for the movie, so eventually I'll talk about those movies. Big LT wants me to review the first one. I'll get to it when I get to it, okay, man? I could do that and then do the sequels for a potential sequel-a-thon. I don't know. I also want to do a remake-a-thon, but that's kind of falling through. Anyway. So they meet the station, which is 2 little Martian guys who agree to go with them. And of course, all they say is, station! Are you starting to get why everything was supposed to happen? The word station. Bill and Ted have met station here, now. Right? And they will bring them with them back to 1993, which means that influence will carry on, which means that the futuristic society we see at the beginning of this is a result of the events of this film. Just saying. So, Bill and Ted are back, and we get there. They wake up. A buzzard was apparently pecking at Ted's head, and there's a worm in Bill's ear, which would be weird to wake up and the worm. Ugh. The stations are already there, but death falls from the sky. Again, it came from heaven, so you know. And then they say this. They say, let's go back and clean things up. And then call the babes and then go shopping for the stuff. They don't do that. I don't think we ever see any cleaning up. They don't call the babes till they're at the Builder's Emporium. It's 1993 at this point. So their payphones are a thing. But, hell, their booth is a payphone. But the van is there waiting for them, so they drive. Right? And then we see evil robot Bill and Ted, in the Porsche trying to hit a cat, not able to do it. The second time trying to hit a cat, not able to do it. And then they're almost to Missy's house, so they launch themselves through the windshield, through the front window, into Missy's house where the princesses are. And Missy tries to stop them, but they blow evil breath in her face, and she passes out. The girl is then asked, "Who are you?" And I say, "Well, you see," and in this version, you just see them open up and show the robot parts. However, in the original version, and you can still see parts of this, they actually unzip the suits. Evil Bill unzips to reveal he's Evil Ted, and vice versa. And later, when the boys call and they're carrying the girls, you can see the unzipped suits still on the floor. They just didn't use that scene in the movie. So, the guys are at the Builder's Emporium, and Death and the stations are shopping while the guys are trying to get a hold of the girls. You can say it's why it takes too long. They call Missy's, But there is a scene where there's this guy in a leather jacket smoking a cigarette, and, here's a common knowledge for you. That's the director of the film. Death walks by him and goes, "See you real soon." And what I didn't notice till now is he actually puts it out. Like, okay, I quit. Grimmy walk behind me, I quit. I do like, though, when they're going through all the stuff they gotta build, Death finds a new scythe, and he's like, nah. It's like a garden tool or something, but. And so, Bill and Ted, for some reason, they're trying to call it babes, I guess, but when the evil ones picked up, I would have just hung up, said, "Get the stuff, here's some money, get the stuff, and we gotta go, do something, whatever, build it in a parking lot, who cares?" But, no, they reveal it's them, talk to them, and they're like, "Oh, it's them, they're alive again, guess we'll have to kill them again." And so, then, they're like, "We're going to stop you, blah, blah, blah." And then the evil robot Bill and Ted say, Evil Bill says, "Good luck getting to the concert, losers." Those of you may be asking, if you don't know, why does he say that when nothing happens? Well, you see, originally, on the way to the concert, the evil robot Bill and Ted somehow were able to create monsterized versions of the Easter Bunny, Granny Preston, and Colonel Oates, which means that the actor would have had a bigger role in this than a couple scenes, to come after them and try to stop them. But Bill and Ted would have to stop them by embracing their fears and getting rid of them, which would also have a speech, which is in the Reaper rap, where embrace your fears, dudes. Yeah, offer them a honey bun or something like that. But no, this whole plot point was taken out of the film. I think that's the last of the deleted scenes. Oh, no, there is one more. But that scene actually did air in versions. This next scene I'm going to talk about. But anyway, so they get out of the Builder's Emporium. They're just throwing stuff. Technically, they're just throwing it in the back of the van. And they ask the stations know what they're doing. They do a little charging thing, run into each other, and make a bigger station. Still voiced by Frank Welker, just doing his claw voice, basically. Station. So now we get the montage of building the good robot us's to the tune of one of the best songs on the soundtrack, Battle Stations by Winger. Take no prisoners, open fire, battle stations. Someone tries to break one's faith, battle station. Like there's only two. I could jam to most of the music in the first one, but there's only two songs in here that would make me turn off the music. And it's this one and there's one later. So this is where the lead scene comes in. So he's building the good robot houses. We see that, and then Ted goes back to look at him, and Death goes into the passenger seat. In the deleted scene that was aired in most of the TV versions seen in the 90s, is that Death is sitting on the front seat in the passenger seat with Bill. Bill offers some gum, and he puts it in his mouth with the silver wrapper on it, spits it out, and goes, "I don't like gum." Little stupid scene, but it's like the only deleted scene to actually air in a version of the film. But you see, they're actually robots. They don't look like Bill and Ted. They do, but they don't look, they're not reusing the actors again, is what I'm saying. So they finally get to the Battle of the Bands, and the evil robot has to come on stage and say they're the... By the way, now there's a twist with Miss Wardrow, but knowing the twist and what happens here, she's like, "Where are the girls?" He's like, "They're up in the rafters. We're totally going to kill them." And she's like, "Oh, okay," and walks off. I'm just like, when you watch it for the first time, you're confused. Once you know the twist with that character, you're like, okay. By the way, Miss Wardrow is played by Pam Grier. I've talked a lot about her. She's at the beginning of the movie, and then she's here. That's it. And we see a lot of people tuning in to watch this, including Missy and the New Age dudes. And it really hit me this time. Why is Missy watching this? Why is she not calling the cops and saying that her two son-in-laws had knocked her out and kidnapped her daughter and their girlfriends? Why did she not call her husband, who is part of the police? No, she's just watching the stuff on TV. Wow, that's stupid. Like all the other stuff I can excuse for, it's supposed to happen this way, so God and Satan and the Grim Reaper, they're allowing this to happen, but no. This is just stupid. So the good Bill and Ted show up with the good robot houses, and this fight doesn't last very long because they come in and their heads fly up, and Bill catches evil Ted's head, and Ted catches evil Bill's head. Somebody caught this time. And so they think it's over. Denamolo shows up in a booth, because of course we gotta have Booth Ex Machina. He shows up and he says, I'm Denamolos, I'm the master, and holds a gun to them, says he's gonna kill them. He tunes every TV in the entire world to that signal, so they're watching this Battle of the Bands, which we were told before has just live coverage on Channel 12. Now it's all over the world. Do you see why I say that the mechanics in these first two films, that was always supposed to happen this way? Just saying. So, then we get stuff from the first film where it's like, after we beat him, we'll come back and we'll set things up like a sandbag, which, he has ample enough time to move the gun. He sees it falling, he just lets it fall on there, which I guess plays into something later, and a cage which falls from the sky and lands on him. It can't be that heavy, but Also, his gun fell right in front of him. I'm going to point that out. So, he says that after he has defeated them, he'll go back and he'll set up a key. He opens the cage and walks out, and another gun. Your gun is right there in front of you on the floor. Why do you need another one? And this gun just appears in his hand like magic. Again, like I could see maybe they had a Rube Goldberg device to hang with the cage here, like to hang the garbage can in the first one, but the trash can or whatever. But here, a gun just appears in his hand, and then Bill and Ted just smile, and when he fires the gun, it says "Wild Stallions rule." And he said, "Only the winners," and they say, one thing you didn't think of. Only the winners are going to be able to come back and set this up. We set the cage. We set up the gun. How did you set up the gun? The gun just... No. Whatever. So, then, excuse me, your shoelaces aren't tied. Huh? Melvin. A lot of people keep falling for that. Like, he has boots. There's no laces on him. I don't know. Ted's dad makes his final appearance, arresting him. We get a Bukum Deno from death. And then they are, the whole world's watching them. It's their time to play. And they decide to take a 16-month vacation in the time booth. Except for a 2-week medieval honeymoon, which would be interesting to go back and see their father who tried to execute them. And now is the part that did not age well. Because they show their kids, who in this film were always meant to be boys. Little Bill, Ted's kid, and little Ted, Bill's kid. They were always meant to be boys and weren't changed as such until they were writing a new movie. Because legacy characters cannot have sons as kids anymore. Everything is daughters, daughters, daughters. Even though they were established as being boys here, we can just throw in a line in the third one to explain that. Apparently they were played by girls. I don't know, but they're always supposed to be boys. Sorry. That they're always supposed to be boys. I will talk more in depth about that in the next one. But so now after all that, they're ready to rock. So they introduce their band, and they introduce backup singers to Good Robot Us's, conga and bongo drums, stations, and Death on bass. You might be a king or a real street sweeper, but sooner or later you dance with the Reaper. I love show business. So, let me get the speech. We've been to the past. We've been to the future. We've been all around the afterlife. Ted, best place to be is here. Best time to be is now. And all we could say is, there's a cameo from William Sadler, as a British dad during his montages to My Word, when Donald takes over, just to mention that. Let's rock! So they start rocking out to an instrumental chord by Steve Vai, which is an intro to the song God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Kiss. This is the best song in the film, in my opinion. Although it is inevitably ruined by the fact that there's a sequel that retcons everything that is showed to us during these credits. And to be fair, Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson said that they didn't write this stuff. It was gag stuff that was thrown in, I guess. But there's a lot of things. But anyway, yeah, they're able to rock out. And that's a surprise that they can play the music. But Rufus is not, because he's from the future that exists because of these events of this film. So, he's not surprised. But, yes. And stuff in the credits include Wild Stallions to Play on the Moon, Missy to Wed the Nomalos, Reaper wins Indy 500. Reaper gets a solo album, which I believe is the only thing that is canon. I think I mentioned it in the next one. Wild Stallions split, which actually does happen, but not between the two guys, between them and the Reaper. Several things. World peace achieved. No, not really. Because they retcon a song that they had to perform that was never mentioned in either of these films. But, yeah. And we get the Reaper rap. The Reaper was playing, instrumental version was played earlier on this film. But I glossed over the scene where Bill and Ted destroy the apartment and play basketball with Evil Bill's head. Total headbangers. But that's not really important. Anyway, yeah, that's the movie. And so, yeah, much like I said, everything. Oh, you may be wondering, Rufus, where the hell he come from? Well, you see, Miss Wardrobe says she can explain everything and undresses to reveal that she was Rufus the entire time, with the excuse being, if it was anyone else, would you be led to the competition? No. So yeah, Rufus. I do love the one guy in the audience going, yeah, take it off, baby! Which, as a kid, I was nervous. I was going to get yelled at, but then it revealed that it's Rufus, and it's like, what? So he's been there the whole time, dressed as Mrs. Wardrobe, if she was really a real person or not. And that makes me think, so what was he doing the whole time they were dead? Because you think if he was sent back in time, he would warn them, not just put them in the battle of the bands and not say, oh, by the way, my former gym teacher is trying to kill you. Just saying. No, it just, I don't know. The more I think about this twist, the more stupid it is. Like, what? Why didn't he try to stop them? Because the events of this film were always meant to happen. He just had to do a little push to help them. He couldn't completely intervene, or that would change things. Maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, that's where Rufus came from. I had to mention that twist. But yeah, and that's where you get the Chuck the Novelist, my old gym teacher. And by the way, sit-up champion of the 20th century. Which, by the way, he's still technically in jail in the 21st century. Now it's 21st century. So, I love this movie. But there are people that say this is better than the first one. I don't think so. I think it's just about as good, but I wouldn't go as far to say that in particular. I would say it is like just a hair lower. So I'm going to give it a very, very high, pretty good. There's just, a lot of confusion with this movie. It goes there. It goes to places you wouldn't think it would go. But what are your thoughts on Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.